535 members of Congress that reside inside the 495, the Beltway around Washington, D.C., which I refer to as the kryptonite of logic. I don't know how our guest Melanie Sloan does it, but somehow she manages to take these 535 congressional cockroaches and narrow it down to the most corrupt in an annual list of 15. This, the 5th annual most corrupt members of Congress. Melanie Sloan, the Executive Director, Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington. Ms. Sloan, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
I mean, how do you do it? I mean, you must be up late at night saying, okay, I got 535 and I got to come up with 15. You have a big pond to fish in to find corrupt officials.
We do, and the list varies from year to year. It doesn't have to be just 15, and we do spend the whole year from now till the next September worrying about who should be on it. So we keep track of their antics routinely, and we gather files, and then we make a cut as we get closer to the September date.
It's kind of like a football team. You know, when you got to get down to the maximum numbers of players you can have on the roster, you have to start saying, well, he's okay, but this guy's better. I want to talk about some of the new additions to the list, and we'll start in my state of Nevada, Senator John Ensign, who I think should have resigned, not just in light of the nonsense that he had in the ongoing affair with his campaign aide or his senatorial aide, and the fact that it was his best friend's wife, and I mean, all that's kind of ugly. But what about the $96,000 that people seem to be overlooking, where it was just what was it they say? It was a pattern of ongoing generosity on behalf of the ensigns to the parents of John Ensign. Yes, correct.
Right. Yes. Well, that is, of course, the key to what we have to say. It is not only that it's a problem that he was having in the affair, and then, by the way, fired the woman and her husband when he was done having the affair. But that $96,000 is a big problem.
Who else do you have as a new addition to the list this year?
Also, a new addition to the list this year, although she's been on the list in the past, is Maxine, a representative from California. Some people may recall that her husband is on the board of a bank called One United Bank, and Ms. Waters pushed Treasury officials to have a meeting with One United Bank and give them bailout funds. And so that's a conflict of interest because her family has a financial interest in the bank.
And the bank would have failed without that money, correct?
That's right. Other new additions to the list. Sorry, go ahead.
No, what I did is we were under the concept of too big to fail, and I wrote an op-ed piece that with Maxine Waters' intervention in One United Bank, now we have too black to fail.
Well, that was certainly her argument, and she did in fact say that at the time. Also on the list this year are Roland, Burris, and Jesse Jackson Jr. They're both caught up in the whole scandal over former Illinois Governor Rod Blagojevich and the sale of the Senate seat. Roland Burris ended up with the Senate seat, but Jesse Jackson seemed to have offered to buy the Senate seat, and so that puts both of them on the list.
Now, Charlie Rangel, who they describe as the cheerful and churlish representative from New York, he has got a whole world of hurt with regard to underreporting or non-reporting, and it just seems like he is unable to be pried out of his seat.
That's right, and he's not new to the list. Mr. Rangel made the list last year as well. His problems just seem to multiply, though. Recent disclosures have come out that he failed to disclose all sorts of income on his financial disclosure reports, including 2 different checking accounts that had $250,000 in them, at least. Who doesn't remember they have $250,000 in a checking account? It's not like he's Bill Gates with that kind of money that you might not know about the $250,000. But far more serious than any of those things about the financial disclosure forms is the fact that it appears Mr. Rangel put a tax loophole into the law for a big company called Neighbors Industries when the chairman of that company made a very large contribution to something called the Rangel Center attached to City College of New York. And if there was a trade of a contribution to the Rangel Center for this kind of legislative assistance that saved neighbors hundreds of millions of dollars, that could be criminal.
Now, 12 of the 15, I understand, on this year's list are under investigation by various entities, DOJ, Office of Congressional Ethics, etc. Does anything ever come of this? I mean, we know Traficant just got out of prison after 7 years. Duke Cunningham went to prison for, I believe, 8 years for taking a crappy Rolls-Royce and a beat-up yacht, $2.4 million in bribes. Ted Stevens was convicted, but then that was thrown out because of supposedly prosecutorial misconduct. I think it's more along the lines of protecting the guilty, willing to give Ted Stevens a pass. Does anybody outside of those names, or maybe a handful of others, Bob Ney of Ohio, does anybody ever really get taken to the carpet or go to jail? And if not, why not?
Well, they don't all go to jail, but I will say that they do end up out of Congress. Out of the 48 members we've had on previous lists, 27 of them are no longer in Congress. So that's not a bad number. I'd say we're doing pretty well with listing the right people and the people who no longer belong in Congress. I think you'll see some of these people have some pretty serious legal problems. I think there's always potential on this list for John Murtha and Pete Visclosky to get indicted federally, as well as Don Young from Alaska. The ethics committees, as is well known, are just a joke. They do very little about anything. But sometimes just the beat of the drum, people hearing over and over about the bad conduct of these members, sometimes they just get tired of knowing their member's the most corrupt, and they stay home and don't come out and vote for him.
So now John Murtha, I believe he appropriated $110 million for some airport that's named after him that I believe has 3 or 4 aircraft, maybe a week visit or something along those lines. So now you got a corrupt guy like John Murtha who called on Marines cold-blooded killer, who's now involved in setting the tone for policy with regard to whether we increase our forces in Afghanistan. I mean, do these people, you've been around them a lot longer than I have, and you're much closer to them than I am. Is it that they just feel that they're above the law, that the rules of the road don't apply to them?
That's absolutely how they feel. I think there's something about, it must be in the water, when they get to Congress and they have all those people kowtowing to them all the time, they think they are special, they are above the law. Anything that they do is okay, and how dare you even question them because, I'm John Murtha or I'm John Ensign, and so I get to do these things. It's a level of arrogance that we see for our government officials that's really troubling.
Now, one of them, Jerry Lewis is on the list, the Republican from California. He's still on Judiciary. He's got a senior position as a Republican on Judiciary Committee. Kind of an important committee. But he's also, what kind of dirt is he embroiled in right now?
Jerry Lewis he's not Judiciary, he's Appropriations, and he actually does the exact same kind of thing as John Murtha. He has been very involved in trading campaign contributions for earmarks, and he has given away hundreds of millions of dollars in earmarks, particularly to one lobbyist, a guy named Joseph Lowry, and his clients. And in return, Mr. Lowry and his clients give Mr. Lewis, I think, over a third of his campaign contributions.
And didn't he allow
an investigation by the Los Angeles U.S. Attorney for this?
And didn't he allow something like 14,000 earmarks in the budget back in, I think it was 2005 or 2006?
I don't remember the exact number because he was chairman of Appropriations and is now ranking member, so he certainly has more opportunity than most to put in earmarks, and he's known as one of the king of earmarks.
But as Chuck Schumer said, people don't care about those porky little amendments. Apparently, some people are starting to get a little upset about the kind of insanity that's taking place out there. Let's head to Alaska, Ted Stevens' state, when he was the senator from there. Representative Don Young, the Republican, is on your list.
Don Young is on the list, and he's been on the list for a couple of years now. He's involved in several scandals, not just one. And so, the problems in Alaska just seem so numerous. First, he's involved in the scandal involving Jack Abramoff, the disgraced former lobbyist who's now in jail. And it seems that Mr. Young was yet another congressman, one of many, in Mr. Abramoff's pocket. Then he, too, was involved in the whole Ted Stevens scandal involving the Vico Corporation, where people were offering bribes to members of Congress and state senators in order to help the Vico Corporation along. And then I think the thing that Mr. Young has gotten the most press for was putting in an earmark into a transportation bill for a road in Florida. Now, why, you would have to wonder, would a Alaska congressman care so much about a road in Florida? Well, right around the time he puts that earmark in, he gets $44,000 from a Florida developer. And he puts this earmark into a bill that's already enrolled, which means it's already passed the House and Senate. And so it's supposed to be pristine at that point. No one's allowed to touch it. But Don Young had someone go ahead and put that in and then denied it for a couple of years. When it finally came out that he was the one responsible for the earmark, a federal investigation was started into that.
It sounds like we should be invoking the RICO statute here for all these people. I mean, it sounds like we're in Lower Manhattan in a district court and they're reading off charges against the mob.
Right, or recently in New Jersey, if you think about all the public officials who've been indicted there in recent times, it's really been quite a problem.
Melanie Sloan is with us. She's the Executive Director, Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington. That's citizensforethics.org, and the 5th Annual Most Corrupt Members of Congress report, which you can get at cruzmostcorrupt.com. Well done. Keep it up.
All right, thank you.